I'm Lori Trahan, and I'm here with Caroline and Grace, and we wanted to welcome you to our very first Children's Town Hall. I guess I'll start just by describing what I do. I'm your representative. I represent the 3rd Congressional District, which is 37 cities and towns in this part of Massachusetts, down in Washington. And we've been doing a lot of town halls with your parents and with adults, talking with health experts and with small business experts around the coronavirus and COVID-19. But, through it all, Grace and Caroline have been asking me questions nonstop for the last 3 weeks. And so we thought it would be a good idea. That's exactly why we're doing this, because you all have questions. You've submitted some fantastic questions, and we're going to do our best to answer them. So there's no question that life has changed pretty dramatically for all of us these last few weeks. And, some of those changes, one, we haven't been to our school in close to 3 weeks now. Many of us are working from home. I know my husband and I are working from home. That we haven't had play dates with our friends. We haven't been able to see our loved ones or our teachers, and those are big. Those are big changes. So we thought we would, sort of talk about that, so that if you have questions along the way, we can answer them. So just to give you a little bit of background, the federal government has 3 branches. There's the legislative branch, which I work in, along with 434 other representatives across the country. There's the executive branch, which is the president and everyone that works for him. And then there's the judicial branch, which is our Supreme Court and our entire court system. Members of Congress, like me, are elected every 2 years, and we enact our laws. And we also represent you and your family down in Washington. So, like I said, we've been doing town halls with experts and with adults, but we wanted to do one with children, because I'll tell you what sort of spawned this. Last week, I had to go to Washington. Congress hasn't really figured out how to work remotely. We're kind of doing it in real time, just like you all are doing, learning at home rather than in your classrooms. So I got in my car and I drove down to Washington, D.C. And I think Grace was, you were nervous. You were worried that I was going to get sick. You were worried. You had lots of questions. And that kind of prompted us to do this. We figured a lot of kids out there probably have questions. Yeah. So, once again, these are my great co-hosts. I've been spending a lot of time with them. We typically don't look like this, but we got dressed up for you all. This is Caroline. Caroline, do you want to say anything? How old are you?
I'm 6.
Just turned 6. And what grade are you in?
Kindergarten.
Yes, and this is Grace.
Yeah.
What do you want to say? How old are you?
I'm 9.
And when will you be 10?
5 days.
On Sunday. And what grade are you in?
4.
All right. Well, Grace has agreed to read the questions that you have all submitted. One thing I will say is we like to make everything discussable in this house, and the last few weeks have been hard, and it's okay for you to feel that way. Grace was really looking forward to lacrosse season, and Grace and Caroline both had a dance recital that they were supposed to perform in, and not being able to do those things, it's hard. And in addition to that, we miss our Nana and Papa. We miss our Ama. We used to get to see them almost on a daily basis. And we don't get to see them. And I think it's really important that if you're struggling with that, sometimes you don't even know if you're having a hard time with that. You just know you don't feel the same way. go talk to your parents and make sure you say, hey, look, I'm having a hard time, because this is uncharted territory for all of us, and it's really important that we're there for each other and that we're patient and understanding. All right, let's get to the questions.
Okay.
Right?
So the first question is from Jacob L. in Sudbury, and he asks, did the coronavirus come before this, or is this the first time?
Well, COVID-19, which is what we call the coronavirus, is brand new. We've never seen it in humans before. And it's not like a typical cold. It's not like when you get the sniffles. So that's why we're treating it with so much care and urgency. It spreads very quickly, that much we do know. And you've probably all heard the term social distancing. That's us staying apart from each other so that we can slow the spread of that virus, right? We don't want more people to get it. We want to try to contain it if we can. So, the other day we saw our neighbors, they were walking their brand new puppy, which was so hard for us to not run and go pet. But, the girls stayed 6 to 8 feet away from their dear friends, and it's really important that we do that, because we don't want to get them sick. We don't want them to get us sick. If we, one of the reasons why we don't see our grandparents is because people who are especially vulnerable are our seniors and people who have are immune compromised. Our papa has multiple sclerosis, and so he hasn't left the house in 3 weeks, and we don't, if we're dropping food off or something, we just drop it off at the door. We make sure we don't touch, because we don't want it to spread. So one thing that I will say is that we're all in it together. I think we realize, and you probably hear me say it a lot, is that we all have a role to play, and by washing our hands and doing the social distancing thing and disinfecting our surfaces and sneezing and coughing into our sleeve, now wearing masks when we're out, that helps prevent the spread of the virus. All right. Did I answer that okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Caroline, are you going to come back and rejoin us? You can bring the magnet tiles right over, honey. Yeah. You just, if you want to carry the gorilla, and you can build a big, huge tower if you'd like. Okay, what do we got next?
The next question is from Andrew S. and he's from Westbury, and he says, I think that there should be a better plan for future pandemics. Our lack of planning has resulted in many people getting this disease. We did not act soon enough, and we did not do the right thing at first. So how would you help plan for the future pandemics?
Well, it doesn't sound like Andrew's in kindergarten, does it? No, he's definitely either been reading the newspaper or watching the news. Andrew, you're 100% right. Part of the federal government's role is to protect the public health. When we talk about the entire country's health, that's what public health is. We want to make sure that collectively we're not sick, and we're doing everything we can to prevent the spread of the virus. And we've been here before. Throughout history, we've had viruses that have spread before. We've had illnesses where great leadership has mobilized resources so that we can find vaccines real quickly and find treatment. I think that the most important thing right now is that we keep our eye on the ball, and we remember the 3 T's, and that's testing, treating, and tracking. The best thing that we can do is make sure that everybody, that we're testing as many people as we can, that we're treating those people appropriately, and that we're tracking where these hotspots are in our country. One other thing I'll say, it's really important that we always fund and give resources to the Centers for Disease Control or to the National Institute of Health, because they are set up to try to prevent pandemics like this. And they're also set up to make sure scientists are ready to go with all the planning that something like a virus like this would spread. I'm so sorry, I just got distracted. Gracie just gave me the hurry up signal underneath her clipboard. So, all right, I will take my signals from my 9-year-old, smarter than your average 4th grader.
Okay, so the next question is from Nancy Edmond Drake, and she says, when will I not have to stay 6 feet away from my Nana?
All right, the question was, just in case you didn't hear it, how long until I can give my Nana a hug? We ask that question all the time. I mean, we miss that. I cry about that. I miss my mom. Gracie and Caroline certainly miss their nanny and their puppy. And like so many, their cousins are, my sisters, their aunts. I mean, this is the hardest part. I think that we don't know. Science guide us, so parents in jeopardy, but we're hoping it's soon. The most important thing that we do is stay connected, right? I mean, I know we're using FaceTime. We're making a lot more phone calls than we used to. We're even drawing pictures and writing little notes, and we'll continue to do that so that all the people that we love know how special and know how much they need. Yeah.
And as a follow-up to that question, LED says...
LED, is that your cousin LED?
Yeah, from Andover. And she says, how long will school be canceled?
Okay. Did you hear that? How long will school be canceled? Right now we know that we're not going to school before May 4th. Grace and Caroline are in public elementary school, and right now the order is May 4th would be the earliest. And we'll see. We'll see where we're at when May 4th comes around. If we are in a good spot, we will be boarding that bus and going back to school. But I think what's most important is that scientists and our medical community, they guide that decision, and they'll tell us when it's safe for us to go back to school. I will say it's been fun to have Christian, Gracie and Caroline's older brother, is home from college, and he's doing remote learning, and it's been kind of cool to have him home. We've never seen him this much before. All right, what do you got next?
Okay, so the next question is from Amanda W. in Westford, and she asks, can animals get the coronavirus? And she's worried about her pet rabbits.
Oh, so Amanda, that's so sweet to think of your furry friends. Certainly, there is no evidence to suggest that the virus is spread from our pets to us. However, I will say, and we've talked to plenty of healthcare experts on our town halls, and their suggestion would be that if you're sick with COVID-19, that you don't snuggle your dog or your cat or your bunny, just for safe measures. So, but there's no evidence of that. So if you're not sick, keep playing with your bunnies. I'm sure they really enjoy the fact that you're home from school. I know we have a dog, Cookie, and she's gotten more attention in the last 3 weeks than she has since the day she was born, and she's loving the fact that we're here at home with her. All right. You got another question?
Yeah. The next question is from Sam B. in Hudson, and he asks, I have a question about COVID-19 in the schools. What are you doing about supporting the schools while closed?
Well, that's a great question. I actually sit on the committee of education and labor, and so this is all our committee talks about right now, is how are we going to take care of our schools, our students, and our teachers, right? And all the people who work in our schools. Last week that I drove down to Washington? Yeah. Precisely what we were doing was passing legislation so that we funded remote learning. There are a lot of students, and there's a lot of families who either don't have iPads or laptops, or they don't even have access to Wi-Fi. So we needed to fund and make sure that we were giving hotspots to students. We're making sure that people just had access to keep learning through the school year, even though they weren't in their classroom. The other thing we have to do is make sure, like, look, there are a lot of kids, us included, we eat school lunch, right? Some people need that lunch, you know, in order to stay healthy and have a nutritious meal, and so we made sure that we kept that funding. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I went to my hometown of Lowell, and I passed out school lunches, and I passed out food from the food bank, so that all these families have what they need while they're at home you know, staying safely at home. So everything that we do in that committee is to make sure that students and teachers have what they need to continue learning. What do you have a question?
Yeah.
You can pick out that. These are surprise questions?
Yeah.
Oh.
So how do you spend your day now that you're not in Washington?
Oh, you have no idea what's happening behind that closed door. Well, so normal life was I would leave on maybe a Monday and come back on Thursday night. I'd go to Washington, I'd vote and debate and sit in committee hearings. Right now what we're trying to do is have all those meetings on conference calls. So I sit on committee conference calls. I sit on the Armed Services Committee and the Committee Education Labor. So I'm on calls. We're trying to figure out what the next package, the next legislative package is going to include to make sure that families are safe and they have what they need to get through this tough period. Also our small businesses. So, you know, I spend a lot of time on the phone. Equally as important as, you know, getting on the phone with all my colleagues in Congress is talking to businesses, right? I talk to the superintendents of schools and all the communities that I represent. I talk to first responders. I talk to mayors and the state reps and our hospitals, making sure that they have what they need. Are you coming over here? Come on over. Come sit with me. No? Do you want to take a drink out of Gracie's mug?
Do you have your own mug?
Do you want... Come join us.
Just grab your mug.
All right. Well, you can bring it over. No? No. So yeah, we're still working really hard making sure that, one, we keep in touch with all the folks here in Massachusetts to see what they need, because that informs what I fight for down in Washington.
Yeah, and I have another question is, if you go shopping or leave the house, will you wear a mask?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a couple of masks, but I also noticed that there are a lot of people out there who are making masks. So we would be, well, I would be, I don't know if you're going to need one. You all haven't really left the house in quite some time. But if we go out in public, I will absolutely wear a mask. And maybe we can ask Nanny if she could, Nanny or Auntie, if she could make us one.
Nanny said you can make one with a bandana.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a very good baker. What makes you think I'm a good sewer? Oh, you mean just tying it around? Yes, I could definitely do that. But I feel like Nanny could maybe make us one. We'll ask her. But she's really good like that.
Yeah. And then we have our last question from Oliver G. in Groton. And he says, what do you do to
This question is for all of us.
to stay busy and have fun most days?
Caroline, come tell us what you do to have fun. What have we been doing these last 3 weeks?
I played outside, and me and Grace, sometimes we paint and sometimes we play with our family.
What game have you learned how to play? What card game?
Me and Grace learned how to play scat.
Yep. And hey, Camille, what else have you been doing when you go outside? You've been doing it more than ever before.
When I was outside, I normally swing and ride my bike.
Yes, yeah. We've been doing a lot of bike riding. How about you?
I usually play basketball or lacrosse in my backyard.
Yes, lot of basketball, a lot of lacrosse.
Grace, and when we're inside, we usually have movie marathons and play scat.
Yes, I will say that you have, you're an extraordinary baker. You have basically been the reason why we have breakfast every morning. And we've had a couple of dance contests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won all of them. We had a pancake bake-off with Dad.
Yeah. Yes.
I won.
And we've done a fair amount of painting and crafts, right?
That's what I said.
Yeah. Right now we're trying to get organized and stay ahead of our classes, right? We've been making an adjustment on learning and when we meet our teachers and, you know, the apps that we use to upload our assignments. So yeah, we're doing all right. Thank goodness for the nice weather, right?
Yeah.
Well, any other questions?
Not from,
No?
you know.
All right. Well, I will say I want to thank everyone. This is a first for us, and but I don't think it's going to be the last. We'll probably keep. We'll stay in touch. Just by virtue of how great your questions are, I could see that we could do these again. But the one thing I wanted to just remind everyone is that it's really important that we all do our part. And we all do what we can to make sure that we prevent the spread of the coronavirus. And that means absolutely washing our hands, absolutely making sure that we're staying, even when we're outside and we're hiking on a trail or walking in our neighborhood, that we're 6 feet away from our neighbors, and making sure that we all do our part. And then certainly from a mental health perspective, this has been a tough adjustment. I think everybody is, kind of going through their own process of kind of getting acclimated to the new normal. And so make sure you raise your hand and tell your mom and dad, or your brother or your sister, you want to talk. Make sure you're getting outside and you're getting some exercise, and make sure you're being creative, keeping yourself busy, and be kind. Be kind to your parents, be kind to your siblings, and if you have the opportunity to thank a doctor or a nurse or someone who works at the grocery store or delivers mail or a package to your house, say thank you, because they are our new front line. They're providing us all the things that we need to stay healthy and to stay fed, and we owe them a huge debt of gratitude. All right, well, until next time, Carolyn, you want to come and say goodbye? Thank you so much for sending us your questions, and we'll talk again soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.